because I'm just here listening and they're
Hello and welcome to another Create Futures session. My name is Graham Park and this is the programme where I talk to a variety of creatives from across the creative sector about their career, their journey, how they got to where they are today and what advice they can share with other creatives, whether they're students or working, regardless of the discipline or area that they work in. And today we are joined by an actor who won the 2019 Critics Circle Award for Young British and Irish Performer of the Year. She was nominated for 2 British Institute of Film Awards for Best Supporting Actress and Most Promising Newcomer for her incredible performance in the film Apostasy, which got rave reviews. Please welcome Molly Wright to Create Futures. Hi, Molly.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you very much for joining us. You've also been in the BBC's Our Girl and Casualty as well. So, as I said, you're an actor. Tell us about your journey. How old were you when you realised you wanted to be an actor?
I don't know if there was ever a specific moment. I mean, it was always going to be, I was always going to end up doing something creative. I was never that academic. So, I mean, it was quite handy that I wanted to do something creative. Until I was probably in my late teens, all I wanted to do was musical theatre. That was always my focus. And I think at some point along the way, I thought maybe doing acting with the side of musical theatre would be a good idea. And then eventually it was, in fact, when I was at college, I just for some extra money really started working as an extra, as a background artist on bits of stuff. I got myself an agent, and it was kind of when I was on the sets that I started to realize that I thought that maybe I could give it a go. And then when I told my agent at the time that I wanted to study acting and stuff, he eventually sent over an audition for a soap, and I did okay. I did quite well. I got quite far. So he moved me over to the actors books, and then a couple of months later, the A word came up.
Well,
thankfully.
Let's just go back a little bit. You're from Blackpool. You say you went to college. Which college did you go to?
I went to Blackpool Sixth Form.
Okay, and were they supportive of you wanting to do like musical theatre and acting?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, by that point, I was kind of doing. I did my BTEC Performing Arts, and I was auditioning for drama schools and stuff. So yeah, for sure. They were really supportive.
So did you go to a drama school?
No, so
Straight to the agent then?
Kind of. It was, I auditioned for, I really wanted to go to Central, because they had a course which was acting with musical theatre, and I auditioned and I didn't get in, and then I auditioned the year after and I didn't get in, but I got a place at the Academy of Live and Recorded Arts. But the problem with that was that it wasn't on UCAS. It would have cost me a fortune to go. So I decided to do a foundation year. And that's kind of when I decided, and it wasn't personal to the school. The school was amazing. I met some amazing people, but I think drama school probably just wasn't for me.
So
I don't think I responded very well to the structure of education. I was ready to just kind of be out of education. I learned so much from doing the extra work and being on sets and stuff that I think that was always the way it was kind of going to go for me.
So how did you go about finding an agent? Because if you're not doing if you're doing a foundation but you've not got a degree in acting or musical theatre, how did you find an agent, and how important is an agent?
That sort of happened earlier than that didn't happen after I finished my foundation year. That happened when I was at college.
Right.
And I wanted to do the extra work, so I literally just looked online at the closest sort of extras and background artist agencies in the area, and the first one that came up, like I just applied to them all, and eventually one of them picked me up, and it was great. I loved it. I think I'd encourage anybody to do that.
Yeah, because regardless of what you do, having someone to represent you obviously leaves you more time to work on your acting or whatever it is you do. So is your agent based in the Northwest?
So they were based in Manchester.
Right.
They were a little agency, and eventually when I got the job so I was with them for about a year maybe, and then when I did the A Word, Morven Christie, who was playing my mum, introduced me to her agents. They came on set for a day, and I absolutely loved them. So, and they're independent, are quite a respected agency. So I should go to them.
So your original agent was the person who got you the audition for the A Word. Well, how did they react when you said you were going to get a new agent once they got you the gig?
Not very well, if I'm completely honest. Not as well as I would have hoped that they'd have responded.
How did you tell?
Natural progression.
How did you tell them though? Did you tell them yourself in person?
Yeah. I told them myself.
Face to face or in an email?
Sorry, what was that?
Face to face or in an email?
Well, email,
right.
but in my defense, I had only met them once. I'd only ever met them once. It wasn't like a face-to-face relationship, or I only ever initially when I went to meet them was when I signed with them when I was like 17. And then eventually there was a few experiences that I wasn't happy with, and going to independent felt like a no-brainer, frankly.
Okay, so you tell us about this audition, because you want to be an actor, and you get an agent while you're still studying, and then you get an audition, and you got the part. But most actors, not just actors, anyone who's going for a job, whether it's a photographer, for example, or a video maker, they need a show reel or a portfolio. Presumably, you haven't really got anything yet to show people. So how did you actually get the audition, and how did it feel going to? Was it in Manchester?
Do you know what? I think I was so naive that probably played massively in my favour. I think actually I did. My agent at the time told me to just record myself doing a monologue, and that he would just shove it up on his website. I don't know if that was what Andy Pryor and his team saw, but I know that they this is it. The majority of it is luck, because they just happened to be wanting to put a family together that were very authentic. Kind of, they wanted somebody that was unknown, that was new, that was kind of as the character is, which is she's just like a young northern student, which I was. So I think probably my naivety going into it, I kind of was just like, I don't know, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know what it was I was auditioning for, really.
So where was the audition?
The audition was in Manchester.
Right, it's in Manchester, right? Okay, so you don't have to go far. You go to Manchester, but it's your first audition.
No, I'd done a few auditions
at
this point. I'd done a few auditions at this point. And I think because I was kind of a bit spoiled, because my first audition, which was for Coronation Street, went well. I was all of a sudden, like, I did 3 or 4 rounds of it, and it was a really good experience. So I think I just kind of thought that was how it was going to be. That was just what was going to happen with every audition from there on out.
So you've had a few auditions, you've had experience, but this is the first one that you get the call, you've got the gig. How did that feel?
Again, I think I was just I was absolutely ecstatic, obviously, and my family were like, what? I mean, about 2-3 months before I got the A Word, I got a job as a singing teacher. At a performing arts school, because I think my parents were like, thank God she's got a job that is, stable and that she can really do. Not that they didn't believe that I couldn't do that, but it just wasn't a thing. I didn't know any actors. I've never come across any, especially from where I'm from. Didn't know anyone could really do that. So when I got the A Word, I think I was kind of, to be honest, I think probably part of me was like, well, if they've given me the job, then it probably isn't going to be very good.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah, okay. I think that's sometimes a good attitude. But um, suddenly you've got a job. You're an actor in quite a big production that's on BBC One. Was it on BBC One?
Yes, yeah.
Did you get paid well? I mean, you don't have to say how much, but did you get paid well?
Yeah,
And
I
was
mean, oh my God, I remember being stood outside. I think I was with my boyfriend at the time, and I was stood in Blackpool Town Centre, and my agent called me, and I had no idea. I still don't really understand how the money thing works within the industry. It's so complicated. But I remember being stood outside and my agent calling me and telling me how much I was going to get, and me being like, oh my God, I'm loaded.
okay, but so
I
on
mean,
the
I wasn't at
well,
all.
well, on the subject of money, what I wanted to ask was, did your agent negotiate you a fee, or was there like a system in place for actors like you who get a certain amount?
I really don't. I honestly, I don't know. It's so complicated. I think that a lot of it goes on your
Right.
experience, your
Okay.
credits and stuff. So obviously, I didn't have any at that point. So I was I mean, I was thrilled. Honestly, I would have done it for free. I kept saying at the time, like
Okay.
I
Yeah.
would do.
You
It
don't want
for
to tell
free, they'll pay.
don't tell people on our TV channel that you do things for free. I'm sure you wouldn't anyway now.
No,
But
no. Oh
no,
well,
no,
I have done it in the
no.
past,
I
but
know,
yeah.
I know. But okay. So A-list, and then you've obviously been on Casualty as well, and the film. Well, how do you work? How do you negotiate fee now? Is that something that your agent does?
It's all done on the
Do you have
agent's
any
part.
input into that? Do you have if the agent says, "I've got you this much," have you ever said, "I'm not doing it for that much. Go back and
No,
get
I
more"?
don't think so. I don't think so. I think it obviously as well. It completely depends on the production and who you're working with. Obviously, Apostasy, which was the feature film that I did, that was an independent film. Like they had next to no money. Like we were all getting paid next to nothing, but it was such a lovely experience. I got paid more for doing Our Girl, which I did for like a week, than I did for doing Apostasy, which was 3 4 weeks and was, you know, a bigger deal and a bigger part. So I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, to be honest.
Um, Our Girl, of course, that's with Michelle Keegan, isn't it?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
she was in Coronation Street.
Yes.
You auditioned for Coronation Street. Had you met her before?
No,
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 okay.
no, I hadn't.
All right. So you're from Lancashire, from Blackpool. Are you now part of that kind of north of England kind of little clique of actors who always pop up on BBC One dramas? Have you started to
I
get to
don't know.
meet them
I
all?
mean, it is a bit of a small world. I think everybody knows everybody, but no, I like to keep my circle small.
Okay.
Yeah, I've made so many friends over the years that are sort of from the same area and that we hang out and stuff, which I love.
No,
Cause
I only ask because on this very programme we had last year Craig Parkinson and Karen Henthorne. I just wondered if you'd had any
no,
connections
I
with
haven't
them.
come across either of those.
Oh,
No.
right. Okay. They're both from the northwest as well. So what are you currently working on at the moment? What's kind of in the pipeline?
Well, I'm kind of just coming back after I've taken a 6 month break. In sort of October last year, I just hit a point where I was like, I think I need to just step back for a bit. So literally this week, I've called my agents last week and I was like, okay, let's start again. Let's get auditions in and stuff. So I mean, at the minute, there's no, like, acting work wise, there's nothing in the pipeline, which is quite exciting, really.
Does that mean, though, I mean, if you're not working, you're not earning, does that mean that the money that you've earned in the past few years from previous projects is enough to keep you going in the short term?
Well,
or do you
this
have
is
another source of
basically why I
income?
took the break.
All right, okay.
So it was obviously like pretty much my whole adult life. I got the AWID when I was 19, so I've been able to sustain myself just on that until sort of the pandemic hit, and obviously everything stopped. So that hit me, and then it's sort of, I think, finding the balance is a big thing for me, especially, which is why I stopped, because I felt like I couldn't focus on other things to help me without completely stopping.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
kind of like
That's
if I carried on acting, it was a constant
yeah,
distraction.
that's a good position to be in. You mentioned the pandemic. I was going to ask you, how did that affect what you do and your career in general, and how did you get through the pandemic?
I mean, I feel. I mean, I can't really say that it was really awful or hard because I know that people really did go through it. You know, a lot of self-employed people really suffered and lost their businesses and stuff. So, but I mean, yeah, it definitely affected me. I mean, I mean, the biggest thing for me was that I moved to London 4 days before the first lockdown, and
Right.
then I had to go home for 3.5 months. So that was a bit of a blow. And I also had a film in the pipeline, an independent film that pretty much as soon as the first lockdown hit, I got a phone call from my agent. She was like, "It's gone. Like they can't fund it anymore." And all of my friends were experiencing the same thing. So you kind of just have to take it in your stride, and like it's not personal, it's just the way that it was going at that point.
What about auditions? Did you do any kind of remote online auditions during lockdown?
Yes, at first there was nothing. Obviously everything was closed. All no sets were running, and everything stopped. But then yeah, that I think that's something that hasn't gone back, and I'm not sure if or when it will. To be honest, it's all been remote. It's all been self-tape and stuff from home. I've been into the room twice in the past year.
Do you think the online audition is here to stay? Not exclusively so, but in some instances, it's now
Yeah.
become part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to my agent last week, and it does make sense, to be fair. I mean, I before the pandemic was coming to London all the time, monthly or weekly or whatever it was, which was really expensive, and often um they would see you and decide you were too small, too tall, whatever it was. Whereas now they can make that decision from a distance, which means that you don't have to
Get the train to London.
get the train to London. Yeah, exactly.
Let me ask you. We're talking to go back to money. What is your kind of employment status? Because everyone watching this, whether they're an actor or a filmmaker or a photographer or a sound technician or a music
Mhm.
producer, chances are they'll be freelance. How does your employment status work?
Well, I'm self-employed. I'm self-employed. Is that your question?
No, no. Are you a sole trader, or do you have a limited company like a lot of a lot of actors do? I mean, in my other
No,
role, I
I'm
do.
not.
So
I'm
you're
not.
just
I'm not.
self-employed, right? Okay.
Yes.
Do
Yeah. Yeah.
you? So you say that the work you got recently is enough to tide you over, which is a good position to be in. Do you put money aside
Oh,
for
a
future?
1,000%. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think that's probably something my parents have always instilled in me
Oh,
is
okay.
just saving and making sure that you're okay. I think to be fair, that's a general self-employed thing. If you haven't got you know um an income, like a disposable income, you can't kind of live hand to mouth. You have to be ready for a drought essentially of work. But I also do, I tutor, I mentor younger actors and actresses and stuff, so I have the other stuff on the side to
All right. So
basically
you
take
got a
the
little bit
pressure
of
off.
a side income to kind of tide you over while you're waiting for
Yeah,
your
yeah,
next
yeah.
big role.
Yes, yeah, yeah, totally. And I think that's something that I've had to learn because I think obviously going into the industry, I had no idea what to expect. All I knew was that, I think you just assume that the people on the telly are all right. They do all right financially. But I think I had to
No.
quickly learn that you have to have the balance. You can't, I think it's a lot to carry to go into an audition and um, have it on your back that I have to get this job or I can't pay my rent. It doesn't play into, it doesn't help you and it doesn't help your audition either. So yeah, I think going into an audition and knowing that you're okay if you don't get it is a huge thing for me.
So now you've had all these roles. You've obviously got a show reel now that your agent will presumably.
Sorry, you were just breaking up a little bit.
I'm saying now you've had all these roles over the past few years. You'll have a great show reel um, for people. How important is that? Because surely, I mean, if a photographer needs a portfolio, an artist needs a
Yeah.
portfolio. So tell us about how important that show reel is and keeping it up to date as well?
I mean, if I'm completely honest, I don't know from, obviously you'd probably be better asking a casting director from their point of view. From my point of view, it can only be a good thing because kind of like this, a similar thing with the self-tapes, it cuts out that period of like, okay, you know, they'll look at your show reel and be able to say, okay, does she look right? How, you know, what kind of style does she act in? Does she match with this person or that person? They can do all of that by looking at your show reel, rather than, you know, asking you to do a self-tape when, you know, and then deciding in the first 5 seconds that you're not right for it. And also it's just, yeah, it's just a first port of call for, I would assume, for casting directors. I think most of them will probably look at your show reel first before, you know, calling you in or anything.
So hang on, let's, what have been your career highlights so far then?
I have to say, Apostasy for me was just magical. I met my best mate on it. It was so unpredictable. We had no idea how well it was going to go, and I think that made it so much more special. And everyone on it worked so hard, and we loved it so much. We put so much work into it that seeing that do well, and it was a really long process as well. I auditioned for that. I think I first taped for that in 2016, and we didn't shoot it until like a year later, and then it was another year until it was going to festivals and stuff. So it was a really long process and a really satisfying process. And because myself and Sasha, who played my sister in the film, had never really experienced, you know, going to the Toronto Film Festival or London Film Festival and all of these cool things, it was amazing. It really was amazing. And then obviously awards and stuff.
Well, you say like your best friend. What's it like when if you get a part, then obviously you've got to start working with people you've never met before, and that's from the director, the producer, all the way down to the extras, your co-stars, but also your camera operators, your sound technicians. Presumably, you'll have makeup artists as well, and set designers. What's it like? How do you have a way of getting to know people or working with people that you've never worked with before?
Well, I think Apostasy was a little bit different because we had a rehearsal process, so we were able to meet each other, and me and Sasha had auditioned together as well. We, as in like they paired us up later on, so we kind of already had that familiarity. But yeah, that's really exciting. I think going in, obviously you do all the work beforehand, and then you come to the set to work with all of those people you've just mentioned, and that's really exciting because it confirms all of the things that you've been trying to figure out yourself, or you work with whoever you're working with to figure out what they want as well, and compromise and figure out how it works and fits together. It's like a puzzle, but it's lovely to do that because it's like you know, you feel like a little team.
What about, I mean, I don't know if this is the case, but have you ever had to work with someone who you perhaps have an issue with or don't get on with? I'm not asking you to name names, and I'm not talking about just your co-stars, but the people who work on the set. How would you?
Yes.
So how do you deal with that? If you don't get on with someone and you have an issue, how do you deal with it?
Well, I mean, it's you have to be professional. Like, you're there to do a job. You can't. Thankfully, no one that I've worked extremely close with has been like, I've always had, if there's been somebody who's been an issue, I've always had plenty of people around me who I love and who support me and who I feel comfortable with. But yeah, ultimately, I mean everybody knows from watching the news, like there's a lot of issues that run through the industry that need to change. And I do think it's heading in the right direction. I think that's always something that I sort of hold on to in those situations, is like, well, you know.
So have you had a bit of an experience, a Me Too type of experience?
Oh, sorry, you were just breaking up a little bit.
I'm saying it sounds like you've had some kind of issues. Would that be kind of on the Me Too type of area?
Along those lines,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
along those lines, which I won't go into for obvious reasons.
No, obviously, no.
It's been,
But how did you how did you deal with that though?
I think I deal with it by talking about it, maybe not in interviews, but I talk about, I just make sure that I feel heard. I think in those situations, victims, if you want to call them that, are made to feel small. They're made to feel like they aren't heard, and the people who are doing that to the victims are, that it's a power trip, isn't it? So I think for me it was to go and to be like, excuse me, this isn't okay, and make sure that it was registered and that things are changing, that something's done about it, to sort of give me my voice back, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I mean that's good, but it is disappointing that in the 21st century
it's insanely disappointing. It's insanely disappointing, and
an issue. Yeah,
and it really is. I think you hear so many stories constantly from so many people, not just actors, but all the way through, right from the top right to the bottom. And I think it's probably like that in any industry, but the difference is that me and my actor mates turn on the telly and we see those people.
No, I know. Sadly it is. Let's go back to auditions. So when you go for an audition, whether it's a TV company or a production company or a director, that's the client, yeah? So how do you prepare for the audition, or how do you prepare for your client? What type of research do you do? Not just on the role you got to play. Do you do any research on who's making the show or the film?
A little bit. I think it's obviously you kind of do a quick Google search to see what they've done and to see what kind of style they're after. Obviously, usually there'll be like a thread through all of their work, so you kind of will watch them. I always try to watch some of the work that whoever I'm auditioning for has done to make sure that there's that common ground and that there's a level of understanding. But I think ultimately with auditions and self-tapes and stuff, it completely depends on what you're sent and how much time you're given. Obviously, if they give you a full script and a week and a half to do it, then you can spend, that whole week reading the script, going through it, figuring out who the character is, what they want, who they, what their relationships are like, all of that stuff. And then you can bring that into an audition. But the majority of the time that isn't the case. Usually you'll be given, maybe a couple of scenes and no script and a bit of a description. So then you've got to just decide. It's guesswork, really. You do just have to do your best to get in.
What about an online presence? Are you active on social media? Have you got a website? And if so,
definitely be better at that, probably.
You could be better.
Do you know what though? I had a publicist for a while, and I was asking her about that, and like I don't think there's too much weight on people needing to have the social media presence. Maybe outside of acting, obviously, if you are a personality or an influencer or any of those things, then absolutely. But I think I don't think you get, or I haven't experienced anyone getting more respect because of. But maybe.
What about getting work though? I mean, do you just wait for your agent to come to you, or are you actively talking to your agent regularly about getting work, and doesn't doing stuff online just kind of announce to people that, hey, I'm still here?
Well, yeah, I guess so. No, I don't. I wait for my agent to send me stuff through, and my agents are amazing, and I fully trust them. We have a lot of conversations about, what it is I want to do and the kind of auditions that I want to do. But other than that, no, I think it can come across a bit unprofessional to sort of reach out and be like, hey, give me a job.
No, I don't mean hey, give me. I mean just like so people go, oh, I hadn't thought about Molly for this role, or oh look,
you mean
like
on social media?
Yeah, just being there. No,
I don't know. Well, like I said, I'm not that active on social media. I have it, and I do share. I think for me, social media kicks in more when I have something to plug. Like if I've done a show and production are asking me to share things. Because
but if you plug someone you do, that might bring you to the attention of someone who'd maybe not thought about you.
So Say that again?
I'm saying by plugging stuff you've done, that's going to bring you to the attention of people who might not have thought of you in the first place.
Yeah, I think that falls. So one of the biggest things I've learned, I think, throughout my career so far is that there isn't really like a ladder. It's not like you get one job and then that leads to another job and then that leads to another job. And maybe it does that at some point, but for in my experience, that hasn't happened. And for the people I know, that hasn't really happened. It can go up and then it can go down, and you can get 6 jobs and you can have no jobs for years and years, and then
I think that I don't know. I've got a feeling that might be specific to acting, because it's about playing different roles. Whereas if you're a photographer or an artist or a singer, then that's maybe different. Networking, how important is that in your profession or generally keeping in touch with people in your industry?
Again, I think I am probably the wrong person to ask, because it makes me want. I just can't cope with with that stuff.
Do you not go to? Did you not go to the BAFTAs the other?
Somebody and then thinking that I'm there just to get a job off them.
Did you not go to the BAFTAs?
Sorry, say that again.
Did you not go to the BAFTAs last week?
No, I did not. Okay. No. But even at those things, like, I love talking to, like, when we went to the Biffers, I love talking to the other actors, and because I just think it's really nice to feel like you're not on your own, and like those things are big and scary, and there's a lot of like big scary people in there. So mate, I should definitely do more of that, but I don't.
What would be your ideal role? I mean, what if you could say, is there any like famous roles or films that you'd like to be part of a remake or whatever? What's your ideal role?
Do you know what? I think I just really love independent film. There's something about a group of people coming together who aren't being paid a ton, so they aren't there for that. And they just love the story, and they want to tell a story that is maybe representing people who haven't been represented before. I like to. I mean, does it sound a bit? I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but I like to make stuff that feels like it's making a difference, feels like it's getting through to people and helping people even. So more of that stuff would be amazing.
Which actors do you admire? Who are your favourite actors? The ones you look up to, take inspiration from?
I mean, I'm obsessed with Cillian Murphy. He's amazing. Any of you like? Do you know what? Morven, who played my mum in The A Word, I just love her. She's so truthful and.
Who's that? Morven
Christie. Right. She did The Bay, and she did The Replacement. Yes. She's amazing.
Yes. Cillian Murphy. Yeah. Have they cast for the Peaky Blinders film yet? You should be going out there and saying you're a big. Just follow Cillian Murphy on social media and comment on his.
If only it worked like that.
And Stephen Wright, follow him on social media and say, "Wow, this sounds amazing." That's how you might get a job in it. You might have the wrong agent. Maybe I should set up my own agency and get you in the films you like. Okay, you work for yourself. You're self-employed. Any low points since becoming an actress?
Oh my God, so many. Yeah, for sure. I think, like I said, it was a hard hit that, I mean, my career has sort of worked out so far that I got The A Word, then I got Apostasy, then I got Our Girl, and it was very quick. And The A Word ran for 3 series. And then all of the attention around Apostasy came about quite quickly. So I think because that was all I knew, I was kind of like, okay, well, I think it'll just be like this then forever, which is absolutely not the case at all. And like before, there was a real drought for me. I've had a ton of rejection, which is just part and parcel. And so, most of my actor friends have all faced the same thing, but it's hard to take, and it gets to you, and you try to and it's also a saying that it is completely illogical. It's not it's usually not personal. It's usually down to, you know, how you look, or you're not famous enough, or you're not X, Y, and Z.
And how do you deal? How do you deal with rejection? I mean, are people quite specific sometimes? Do you ask for
They're never
feedback?
specific, and I think that's the problem, because I think the human brain naturally tries to make sense of it, and the only sense we can make of it is, oh well, okay, well it must be because I'm rubbish. And it's hard. And it's also, I don't think it's something that I'm like, oh, I've mastered rejection now, I'm good with it. Because
No.
you know, rejection hurts, but it's also, if it didn't hurt, it would probably mean that I didn't care. And also, like, I'm really lucky to have experienced the things that I've experienced, and I'm just trying to remember that.
Can you learn? Can you learn from rejection? I mean, if you because if you think the difference is with someone who creates a certain thing, you're doing different roles. So can you learn from that rejection and try and put it to good use next time you go to an audition?
I think that's, I mean, for sure, it's good to, you know, I think it's good to learn from how sort of you respond to each rejection, but I think it's also, you do have to just leave it. You have to leave it alone. You can't keep going back to it and go, okay, well, why? What can I change? What can I do? Because every single job, every single casting director, every single director, writer wants something completely different. So it's not really, it for me doesn't ever really feel that transferable. And like I said, the majority of the time, it is down to how you look, or how somebody else looks, or you're too old, you're too young, all of those things that you can't do anything about.
Okay, you mentioned earlier that you do some mentoring. How did that come about? Did you go out there and say, I want a mentor, or did someone come at you and say, have you ever thought about mentoring?
Well, I think this was a pandemic thing when everything came to a stop. I think there's a temptation as an actor to um, sit and just wait on the shelf for somebody to come in and pick you for a job. And I didn't want to do that. And I feel like I also was thinking about the fact that when I was at college and school and stuff, I didn't know anyone from around here that had been an actor. So I really wanted to reach out to colleges and stuff and be like, use me. You know, I wanna help students. I want to tell them what it's really like and hopefully help them. Yeah, so that's been really rewarding. Um,
And
yeah, it's a really nice thing to do on the
and
side, and obviously it helps with the balance of
so
it all.
so how do people find you if they want to be mentored by you? And is it just students, or have you mentored anyone who's also been in something on the TV or a film?
No, no, it's mainly younger people, college students, students who are wanting to go to university, to drama schools and stuff. Um, I mean, it's just only just got up on its feet, so I'm just sort of contacting colleges and stuff in a minute. But I mean, if anybody out there wants to be mentored by me, you can get me on Instagram.
Right. Yeah. So
Um,
it's right. So people come to you. You talk about it on your Instagram. Okay.
no, I don't.
Oh,
I
you
don't.
don't.
I don't. In fact, I don't think I've ever spoken about it before, because I think for me, I like to keep it completely separate. I
Right.
don't
Okay.
think, I don't know. I don't know if it's an ego thing. I like to think that it's not, like, I don't want to attract the wrong kind of attention with the mentoring as
I
well.
got you.
There's
Got you.
that.
Well, just to talk us through, what does it involve, mentoring? And I mean, this and does what you do, could that apply to other areas as well, other
Well, I
disciplines?
think it depends entirely on what each student is after. Like, some of the students are wanting to go to drama school, some of them are just have got an audition that they want to work on. I think the thing that I usually help students with is the TV and film element, because often drama schools and um, colleges teach the basis of their training is for theatre, or it was for me anyway. So yeah, I think that's what I like to sort of help them with.
In the brutal world of acting, where lots of people go for, one or two roles, what would you do if I'm just going to be devil's advocate in worst case scenario? What would you do
No,
if
go
you
for it.
if you did loads of auditions over the next few years and never got another role? Is the mentoring enough to live off, or what would you therefore
Yeah, for
suddenly decide
sure.
to
Yeah,
do?
for sure. And I think you would just have to grow it, wouldn't you? You just have to deal with whatever situation you're faced with. Um, and I mean, maybe that is a privilege to say that, because I have, a family I will always have a roof over my head if I need it. But yeah, I mean, you have to, so many actors, I would say probably the majority of actors have other jobs because it just suits them mentally or financially or whatever it is they need it for. I think in fact, I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago who can financially, he's financially okay with just acting, but emotionally and mentally, acting is a part-time job, and you have to keep your brain engaged, and you don't want to feel like you're wasting your time. So he still teaches, he still, uses his time wisely and just sort of carries on.
Are you just a screen actor? Have you done any theatre?
I haven't done any theatre. I would love to. I think there's, from what I can understand, there's a divide between TV casting directors and theatre casting directors. That there's a bit of a bridge that I know quite a few theatre actors who would like to cross over, and vice versa. So no, I haven't, but I would love to in the future. Yeah,
Would you consider going on a soap? Because some actors end up just spending the rest of their lives on a soap and being typecast. And I mean, although you do get some like Michelle Keegan who does it the other way around and says, right, I'm off, and has a very successful career. Would you consider a soap?
Yeah, for sure. I think it has to be, it's timing, isn't it? I think at the minute, the thing that I love about acting is the unpredictability of it, and the kind of you never know what you're going to do next, or where you're going to go, or all of those things. So obviously doing a soap is like a sort of 9 till 5, isn't it? So that kind of takes that away. But like, that isn't to say that one day, if I have kids and a mortgage to pay and all the rest of it, that I won't be like, yes, I will absolutely do a soap, because it's still doing what you love. And I worked with, I did a short film with Ben Price, who is one of the actors on Coronation Street, a couple of years ago, and I sort of met quite a lot of the Coronation Street cast and crew, and they were so lovely. It was such a lovely experience. So yeah, 100%. Yeah, one day.
Any plans to kind of go and head out to Hollywood and take your chances out there?
I have an American manager,
really?
but I think I'm talking about things that I honestly probably don't know enough about to talk about. But I think the way that to crack America, you kind of have to have something that is that you've done in the UK, travel over there to be seen there, because obviously that is a huge pond of people. But yeah, again, I would love that. Maybe I'm too northern though. I think Americans quite like the sort of posh British like stereotype, right?
What about, have you got you obviously actors need headshots. What's it like working with photographers? Do you is that something your agent will find, or do you go, oh, I need some headshots, and go and find a
agents
photographer?
definitely help you with that. They definitely help you find decent photographers and stuff. I hadn't had headshots done though in, oh my god, 3-4 years, something like that.
Well, if I was your agent, you'd be having headshots every 18 months.
I think because the problem is that it's very expensive to get headshots. So, and it depends how you're doing job-wise.
Do agents, do you think, I mean, you can only talk about your own agent, do you think your agent has a photographer they deal with, and that's why it's expensive?
No, I don't think so. I think you can go off and just find your own. Yeah. I mean, my first headshots were done by a family member who, did a bit of photography on the side. Obviously, they weren't as strong as the ones that you pay £500 for, but yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive.
Okay, so if you could go back in time, I mean, it's not that you're not that old, but if you go back to your younger self, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I think
the young Molly who wants to be an actor, but doesn't really know if that's going to work out or not. What would you go back and say?
I think balance is everything. I think trying not to. I think something that most actors experience is that when you get your first job, it's like Disneyland. It's the most magical thing in the world, and everybody's amazing, and because people are so kind, and it's amazing, and you're going to be on the telly and all your family are crazy about it, and then you get to, I think, I for sure, and I know other people have, you hit a point where you start to see the flaws, and you start to see it, that it's an industry, and that's quite hard. Like, that's quite a hit to take, I suppose. So to then, I feel like I'm now at a point where I'm going back into it with a more level-headed, balanced idea of what the industry is, because it's a job at the end of the day. So I think I would go back to my younger self and be like, okay, have a good time, but also keep your feet on the ground. Like, don't get too swept up in it. It is completely unpredictable. This doesn't mean that Steven Spielberg is going to call next week. It means that you're just going to be doing this for a long time.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like you haven't got carried away at all. It sounds like your feet are firm on the ground. Going back to your agent or agents, they must presumably take a commission of everything they negotiate for you?
Yeah, for sure.
And are you prepared to say what that commission is? 20% maybe?
I think it's 15.
Oh, really? That's pretty good, actually. 15.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they earn that.
Is that negotiable, or did they say you've got to pay 15%?
I think it probably is, but I didn't negotiate it at all when I joined.
But you were happy to accept 15%. I mean, that does sound fair to me.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, they do, like, the amount of work that they do, getting you all the auditions through and stuff, and my agents they're like, they're so supportive, and they're always on the end of the phone when I need them. Like, yeah, 15% is.
But if you got that Steven Spielberg role, would you be going, listen, mate, 10%?
I'm like, no, you're getting 10%.
Yeah, exactly. And they'd probably accept it, wouldn't they?
Sorry, what was that?
And they'd probably accept it, wouldn't they?
10%, they shouldn't.
No. Before we wrap things up, what advice would you give to fellow creatives, who might, because like I said earlier, you have worked and you will continue to work with camera operators, sound technicians, photographers, set designers. What advice would you give to people who are setting out, who are a few years behind you and setting out on their career?
I think resilience and patience, and not letting people get through to. Don't let people break you almost. Like, it's tough, and there's so much competition. But if you push hard enough, it will happen, because it has to at some point. I think in terms of working on a set, for me, I think the best thing to do is to compromise. Everybody on a set has completely different priorities. Everybody is sort of like pushing against each other to get the things that they need. So compromise and respect all of the, I don't want to patronize.
I like the word respect. I think that respect is a really good word, because
sure.
There's obviously on a big production that's on TV, there's obviously a kind of hierarchy. But the fact you said respect, I think, is really key here. But you said that's the second time you said compromise. Just to go into that a bit more. I mean, is that how would you expect a director to compromise, or is it all about the actors and the crew compromising?
Everybody to a certain extent. I mean, look, you're all working towards the same goal, which is that you want your show or film or whatever it is to be great. But obviously, I think figuring out when to take, from an actor's point of view, when to go, do you know what, I need to look after my character right now. I know what my character would be doing, and I need to say, okay, this, and put my ideas forward. And when to go, do you know what, they really need that shot, or okay, do you know what, they really need that time. And it's not about you. It's not really about any one person on a set ever. So yeah, I think just.
So the director's the client, and he or she really wants you to do something, and you don't want to do it. So think of it. You try it. Okay.
try it.
That is
because
compromise.
you know, like, unless it's like something absolutely outrageous, which I assume it will never ever be, there's always going to be a reason why they're suggesting that. So try it. If it doesn't work, try it your way.
Okay, so that's the compromise. That's a two-way street. So the director would then, okay, fair enough. If you're not comfortable with it,
I think my point is that everybody is so passionate. Everybody feels so passionately about their job on a set. Everybody has worked so hard to be where they are, and everybody has put in the work beforehand to, you know, and it's everything's so precise with timings and shots and all of that stuff that you on top of all that, you have to come to a set and hear somebody go, "Oh, actually, you can't be there because I need to be there," or do you know, whatever that is. So it's coming to it with sort of an open mind. And
just going back to your agent. Sorry, just going back to your agent. And I keep thinking like an agent here. Have you? Does your agent put you forward for things like Strictly Come Dancing or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here? And would you consider doing
no,
them?
I mean, is not for me
What,
personally,
Strictly Come
but
Dancing's
I
not
don't
for
know if that's a
you?
publicist job. You know, I don't
Is
know if
it?
that's a publicist thing rather than an
Not,
agent thing.
you're not a Strictly Come Dancing fan?
I love Strictly Come Dancing. I would do Strictly Come Dancing if nobody would watch it.
No. Listen, I've got an in there. I'll mention you to them.
Oh, you're getting it?
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Thank you.
I think
If
that'd
they
be
could let
great.
me on to just like try on the dresses and dance around and then just like throw me out of the way when the cameras start rolling, that'd be great.
No, I think I'm sure you've got. Well, I know you've got a great agent, but I think the people who look after you are missing a few tricks here, personally. But
Oh,
anyway,
well, thank
right. Finally, any regrets? But I'm guessing not because of the positivity that's coming out of the screen towards me.
Nah, I don't think so. I think, look, I've had some. It's not the easiest job in the world. It's tough. There's a lot of, you know, as I've said, there's a lot of rejection, a lot of blows. It can be, for somebody who has struggled with self confidence, it can be like really brutal. But I think everything has led. It just leads you to be smarter, surely. Like it, you know, you get less naive and you come at it every time with a better perspective on what it is you're doing.
So basically, you learn as you go, and you've mentioned respect and compromise, and I think that's really good advice. Can you not give us any little teasers or clues as to something you may be working on at the moment or something that's coming up?
I promise you, I'm not. There's no secrets here. No, there's not, because like I said, I've literally this week I've just gone back. I've just started auditioning again, so there is nothing in the pipeline. But you will be the first one to know.
Well, I would hope so, and I might have to have a word with your agent because I think he or she's missing a few tricks here. Molly, it's been fantastic. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much
much.
for joining us. Good luck in the future, and we'll all keep an eye out for you on the big screen or the TV as well. Molly Wright,
Thank you so
thank you
much
for
for having
joining us on
me.
Creative Futures.